I turn to my third speaker now, Mr. Ganesh, Dr. Ganesh Gurung. Dr. Ganesh Gurung is from the Nepal Institute of Development Studies and will speak about this from the Nepal context. Dr. Gurung, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start with, like Rajan, I will start with some statistics. Nepal is a very hard hit by this hard hit to Nepal's economy by COVID-19. Let me tell you, the figure is nearly 1 million Nepali people are in Gulf countries, and we in Nepal we receive $8.1 billion every year in total as remittances, which is 19th biggest in the world in terms of economy. And out of 8.1 billion, 50% is from a Gulf country. Gulf country. So a very interesting part is Nepal. The remittances that we receive in Nepal is, in terms of a GDP equivalent, is 28% of the GDP. And that is very high figure in terms of Nepal. And then this, out of 50%, a largest percentage of remittances come from Qatar. Then because of this corona, in Gulf countries, 200 people are nearly 200 people are already infected by corona, and 34 have already died. So, as Rajan also mentioned very clearly, this oil factor is also there because of oil price going down, and there is a big that Nepali people are getting unemployed in Gulf countries. So there are two types of Nepalese in Gulf now. One typology is they are supposed to return forcefully. They are made by the companies to return, or their conditions are very vulnerable, so they are forced to return. They are waiting to return to Nepal. And a second typology is a willingness to return to Nepal. And these are the two types, right? So the problem of Nepal is now, so a big issue that we are suffering in Nepal is these informal people are going to Gulf countries. Then we don't have data. We don't have data. Then we are at present now, as a member of a think tank of a Nepal government, right? I am given the task to prepare this data. So I am contacting to Nepali embassies of all the Gulf countries to provide me data. Second issue that we are suffering is this gender issue. Housemaids, mostly females, they are there. Many of them are pregnant, and many of them don't have access to embassy, and they call very occasionally, but they are in trouble. And third thing, a very interesting part is there are some countries in Gulf that they have asked the Nepal government, they have written me that they want to send back Nepali workers, like Kuwait. Kuwait has already sent me the list of 3,500 Nepalis, and many of them are housemaids. And Kuwait government is willingly, they are also going to pay the airfare also. An interesting part of in Nepal is because at present we have a lockdown situation in Nepal. So the Prime Minister of Nepal has spoken to most of the head of states of Gulf countries regarding the migrant workers, and the head of states of Gulf countries have assured over the telephone to the Prime Minister of Nepal that they will keep the Nepali workers until Nepal can take back, and they will take care of Nepali people as their citizen in the Gulf countries. So So the impact of this is we have already a big unemployment rate in Nepal, and then we are out of this 1 million Nepalese in Gulf. We are expecting, and then I am doing some kind of a modeling, and I am expecting that 25% of 1 million will return to Nepal. And the large challenge that it remains to us is how to reintegrate them, how to keep them in isolation or quarantine, or how to take them back to their respective villages, and how to provide them employment in Nepal. So this is the a large discussion going on in Nepal. Thus, we think in Nepal we have large impact on unemployment sector, and later on food grain. That's what we are working on it, but this is unexpected. So we were not, Nepal was not prepared for it. So that is the a big problem in Nepal. But however, some strategies are being made. So we hope that we can receive these migrant workers from a Gulf country, and we can manage these people who are returning from Gulf. I will stop here. I will stop
Great.
here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gurung. Again, I really like how you brought about this conversation to those individuals and those people from Nepal. You know, one of the conversations that I've heard now in the context of listening to and understanding from some of the trade union leaders like GFONT, the Nepal Trade Union Confederation, the civil society organizations. I know quite a few civil society organizations are very active under an umbrella network called the National Network for Safe Migration, the NNSM in Nepal. And I hear lots of things about how hard the Nepal government is looking at the issues on particularly those who are returning. What I am always struck by is perhaps we as South Asians are less accepting of our own people. I've heard that when migrant workers return to their districts in Nepal, and this is not just in Nepal, I've heard about it even in India and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, they're treated as carriers of disease. So they are treated with a certain sense of stigma is attached to them coming back, that they don't have access to service in some of the districts to which they return to. And I think these are going to be big issues as we talk about reintegration. And I think we need to keep that in mind going forward. You mentioned about the role of diplomatic missions. Absolutely, that is going to be a priority over the next few months. It's always been a priority. Nepal has taken a very active role from its diplomatic side. Nepal has contributed in big ways to the discussions. Nepal is still currently holding chair of the Colombo process, was chair of the SAARC when the SAARC declaration in 2014 integrated a specific agenda on paragraph 21 on labor migration. So in so many different ways, I think Nepal's government's leadership is unquestionable. But that takes the